It's kind of weird. On my way home, I was driving, and I was listening to the Scarface soundtrack, which I haven't listened to in maybe a little bit of a while. I've been kind of wanting to watch that movie again. I probably haven't seen it in like 6 years. But the weird thing about that soundtrack is how it really takes me back more to 2001 more than anything. Now, I saw Scarface.
Is that when you first saw it, or?
No, I saw Scarface beforehand, but what really solidifies that soundtrack is Grand Theft Auto 3. Because it was one of the radio stations on there. No, not Vice City. Grand Theft Auto 3.
Was it Vice City?
Yeah, number 3, one of the radio stations, it just played the Scarface soundtrack. So at that time period, it's like that was a station I listened to like all the time on there, and it probably only had like 6 or 7 of the songs out of it. But like you just listen to it over and over and over again, and that in itself just really like it almost like brought. I was driving, I was just like, man, I got all these memories of being fucking in Liberty City, and like I was actually there, you know? It was like taking me back.
No, yeah, I get you. It's kind of like whenever I hear like Offspring. What most introduced me to Offspring was Crazy Taxi. So.
Oh yeah, there's something special about Ixnay on the Hombre. Next thing you know, it's like, oh fuck, I remember where I was in 1999.
A little bit of conspiracy of one. Well, you get like a slow zoom in on your face, like I remember those days. You just like gun firing is playing in your head for some reason, even though it's on a non-flashback. Just managing playing Crazy Taxi.
Oh no, yeah, it does. It's just there's certain things. It's kind of weird how like a song can be really attributed to a game, even if it's like much later. Like Scarface, perfect example is that soundtrack is 10 years, well more than that even, 15 years before. Grand Theft Auto 3, but in Grand Theft Auto 3, all that was coming together, and just how big of a game that was, just layering, like, it's like, how many fucking mob movies have you watched? And it was just like, it's all coming together, and you're gonna play them all. And it's like, this is fucking amazing.
Well, I think that was one of those also, that late 90s, early 2000s was one of those periods. They just like, you know what? These games, we actually got to the point where we could actually drop licensed music into these games now, so we could help sell it. So like Tony Hawk, Pro Skater, all that shit.
Oh yeah, well Tony Hawk, that's the game that pretty much would like introduce me to so many different bands that I always kind of wonder if it wasn't for Tony Hawk, and let's just assume nobody else did it. There's so many of those punk rock bands and sort of maybe metal and even rap bands that like I don't think I'd even know of if it wasn't for Tony Hawk.
Mm-hmm. Or it's like, I remember, like, there's some of those bands who are just like, oh yeah, this stayed with me, say something like Rage Against the Machine.
Well, yeah, Tony Hawk 2 is what introduced me to Rage Against the Machine.
But then you get stuff like Goldfinger, that stuff that was just very, for the moment, just came and went.
Well, you don't like Goldfinger? I go back and listen to that all the time.
Oh, don't. I'm not talking
you
super
got a
shit.
Oh my God. Goldfinger, huh?
I don't got a fucking problem with Gold. I don't see how you get so fucking defensive over Goldfinger. Look, Goldfinger's one of those things like, oh yeah, the Superman song, that's cool. And that's not one of those things like, oh, they suck. Just like, oh yeah, Goldfinger, I forgot about that. That's cool,
No,
it's not like, oh, Goldfinger. It's not like...
They only really have about maybe like 6 or so really good songs.
There, you're fucking saying, oh, what's wrong with fucking Goldfinger? No, you're right. They got about like 6 songs maybe.
I'll tell you though, those 6 songs though, they're real fun, and they take me back to like that Grand Theft Auto period as well too. I guess that's around the same time period. And it's just kind of this magical like, hey, let's go back to when video games had cool songs in them and whatnot, and I don't know, it's just this real like romanticism thing of that like. You just get these flashbacks, especially when you're driving and it's dark out, and then all of a sudden all you can think about is like, I remember this song. I remember doing a drive-by while doing this song. Huh. What do you know? It just all started to click. And I think it's just that Grand Theft Auto 3, it was like, came out when we were around like 12 or 13. So it was like the perfect time as a child. It's like this game that like, in a sense, your parents probably didn't want you playing in the first place, but it was so amazing and so big.
That was one of those games before I had the maturity to actually play the game. Because that's that period where you go to a friend's house and you just like go around just killing and murdering all the stuff you like. I can do whatever I want, and I always like. Sometimes I might head in the direction. I might head in the direction to go do a mission, but then like I get distracted on the way there, or I just happen to accidentally run into a cop, or one thing would lead to another. Like when I was younger, I was trying to play San Andreas, but what would happen is, and I like the game fine, but what would end up happening is like, okay, I'd hop on a bicycle, I'd be going to part of town, I hit somebody, and then a cop sees me, then I'm on the run, I kill the cop, and then his friends are after me. He just leads this big like, no, I was just going across town. This just kind of happened, you know?
Yeah, exactly. One of those things. The next thing you know, it just leads into something else. But there's something kind of magical. I feel the older you get, you don't really get that exploration feel that you can kind of do as a child. Because as a child, you have all that free time. You know, it's like, it's Friday night. We're going to go fucking hang out at our friend's house and play a bunch of video games. And, you know, it's like, we're just going to play like 15 fucking hours straight of games. Which nowadays, it's like, you know, a game marathon for me is like, ooh, I got an hour and a half in. That was a lot. Ooh, I got to take a break now. Oh, that's going to put my brain over the limits.
You may no longer be my friend after I say this, and we may even lose a few subscribers, but I still have not finished Fallout 4. It's one of those things like I'll play it, I'll get really far, and then I'll put it down for like 2 months, and then pick it back up. And I'm like still probably like I know I'm near the end of the main story campaign, but it's one of those things, just keep picking up, putting down, picking up, putting back down.
Well, that's okay. Actually, a lot of people didn't finish that one either. I noticed a lot of people were like, yeah, I kind of got into it, got about halfway through, and was like, fucking stupid game, and then stopped playing.
No, I liked it.
I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, I liked it. I still think it's just I don't have that drive like I used to. Before that would be like a whole like my main goal until whatever was done. Like last game I could think really they just hooked me into it and I just been well. Granted, it's not as big as Fallout 4, but probably Arkham Knight. But as far as something is like it's not even this still isn't as big as Fallout 4, but or maybe it is. I don't know. Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto might be big. Arkham Knight is one of those ones like the game like in your head you think of it being bigger, but if you really calculate the time, you're like, oh, it's really just like a regular game's length. It's like 10, 12 hours for your first playthrough.
There's no option to have Batman go out like, boating or golfing or, taking yoga classes or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like, because even in Grand Theft Auto 5, it's those things, you may never do some of that stuff again, but you can just like try it out. Like, that was fun and just go off and do something else and then just go like, I think it's also because it's all like a big city. So it's kind of, even though parts of it look different, it's all mostly the same. Or Grand Theft Auto, you can go literally from LA to out in the middle of the woods, out to the desert,
Yeah, I remember because that was kind of the downfall of Grand Theft Auto 4 is like they took out all those like neat extra features. It's like if you're playing the story mode, it's great, but if you want to do any extra stuff along the way, it's like nope, that's not there. And that was kind of I mean, like nowadays, like for me personally, when I play a game, like all those little things, I realize I don't have time for. It's like no, give me to the next story mission. How quick can I finish this game? Because I clearly am on a time schedule. Like I feel like I'm this guy like on a meeting. Like okay, we got to get there in time. We got 10 hours to kill. Okay, how much of Batman Arkham can I beat?
No, I get you. Did you see the trailer for Red Dead Redemption 2 today?
No, I didn't see that. I saw the Nintendo one. I knew that I saw the poster for Red Dead Redemption. I didn't know they had a trailer for it.
It dropped today. Yeah, I didn't see the Nintendo one, whatever that is, but the trailer for Red Dead Redemption 2, it's a very like cryptic trailer. It's just kind of like showing a lot of beautiful scenery and things from the game. It just looks like, without me trying to sound like I'm disparaging it, it looks like more Red Dead, just like modern, like more updated graphics. So it looks great.
Well,
I'm down for. I'm definitely after the Red Dead Redemption and then Grand Theft Auto 5 are both amazing games to me. So I'm definitely going to be there like day one to get this one. And I'm more likely going to probably finish this one the whole way through pretty immediately, like I did. Because I don't know, I think Fallout 4 it's too easy to get kind of. I think because you're keeping track of your supplies, there's a little bit more survival to it. It's easy to get kind of like lost on the way. Where Grand Theft Auto it's a little bit more straightforward. That's why I think that one's probably easier to beat by this point. But this game, there's a voiceover, and I don't think it's John Marston. People are saying they think it's a prequel because you see the silhouettes, and I don't really remember I remember like you had to go after a couple of guys. I remember their characters or a whole bunch of stuff about them, but apparently people are thinking it's a prequel. And I think that's a good thing because we don't really want to play as John Marston's son.
Yeah, that's kind of true, too. I mean, probably a prequel would be the way to go, or even just have a brand new character in general. I mean, that first Red Dead game, you're not like you played John Marston in that one anyways. I mean, it's kind of a different story in itself, so what's wrong with making the third one completely different?
It's not John Marston? It's an entirely different guy?
I don't think it is. I haven't played that game since it came out, but they actually just released it on PS4, and I was like, oh fuck. I've been wanting to play that game again for like the last 10 years. So I downloaded it anyways. You're kind of like flipping through the screenshots. I'm like, man, that game looks fucking old. But other than that, though, it's like, hey, that's one of the 10 Western games that we've had in our entire life. That's what's kind of the sad thing, is that there really is almost no Western video games. I mean, since like the 80s. I mean, like, this is how many I can name. There's Gunsmoke on Nintendo. There's Lethal Weapon, Lethal Enforcers 2. There's Mad Dog McCree. There's Sunset Riders. There's Wild Guns. There's Gun on GameCube and stuff.
You mean Wild Arms? Do you mean Wild Arms?
No, Wild Guns for Super Nintendo.
Okay.
It's the one. It was made by Natsume, and it's kind of like maybe a shooter, but like third person. It's almost like the original like third person behind the shoulder fucking Gears of War style shooter, if that makes any sense, even though it's all takes place like on a 2D plane. Yeah, then there's kind of like, I guess, Wild Arms, but it's not really like, that's more like Western inspired. It's not like full on Western, you know?
Well, it's definitely like, it's definitely more of a Western motif. It's like, I'm going to count that one just because it's sure, it's fantasy. Well, you know, I mean, you know, there's cowboy hats, you're riding horses and whatnot, you're in the desert. So, I mean, close enough, right?
Yeah, I guess that's true. For some reason, I don't remember having that much, but maybe it did. And then there's Gun, and then you have Red Dead Revolver, Red Dead Redemption, and that is pretty much about fucking it. There's a couple other ones I know I'm kind of probably drawing a blank on, but for the most part, there's been about almost like maybe one Western per system, if that even.
I remember when Red Dead Revolver was coming out, people were so excited, saying, where the fuck's this coming from? Look, it has the Rockstar logo. That means it must just be Grand Theft Auto, but a Western. And then everyone was disappointed. That's what it wasn't that. It was a very linear, level-based game.
Well, because originally, though, it wasn't made by Rockstar. It was they just
Capcom.
Yeah, it was a Capcom game. So I knew about it way before that. And then Capcom's like, fuck this Western bullshit. And then they fucking kicked it to the curb, and then Rockstar picked it up, and then it's like, well, fuck, the game's already done. I'll fucking sell it. Fuck you guys, we're Rockstar.
You realize what that means, right? You realize what that means there, right?
Yeah.
That we could have almost had John Marston in Marvel vs. Capcom.
I know, exactly. You almost could have. But, so that came on PS4, and I haven't played it yet because I was still playing Gears of War 4, and then I was just on like a Duke Nukem binge. That's been like my 1 hour a day game. And I've went through almost all the levels over again. And Duke Nukem's just one of those first-person shooters that every time I go back to that game and play it, I just always have such a grand time. The game never fucking gets old. And then I'm always so like, it's amazing how fucking ballsy Duke Nukem is. Like that game, you compare it to games nowadays, just some of the stuff in there, just small things. You know, you'll come across a room, and all of a sudden you just kind of look, there's nothing going on with it, but you're like, oh, there's a camera facing they were shooting a snuff film here. There's blood all over the wall, and, you know, chains and everything like that. And just all these just different little things that for 1996 would have been so like mind-blowing almost.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of PC games had tons of that stuff in them because that was the whole point of PC. It was like, hey, we can put this fucking shit in here. Nobody's going to tell us we can't. We're not fucking Nintendo or Sega.
That's a good point right there. I never did a whole lot of PC gaming. So, like I said before, and like a few episodes ago, most PC gaming I really did was like Lego Island. Past that, it was you know, like, oh, solitaire.
Well, it's like, you know, another game that's always blown my mind, and it's like 1988, but it's Leisure Suit Larry. And it's amazing how much fucking shit you can type into that game, and there's a response for it. That always blows my mind. It's just like, man, they literally thought of everything when programming this game in like the fucking 80s.
Yeah, it's good. I actually haven't played that one, but that's one you've told me about. And yeah, I know they try to like, there's some of those characters they try to like bring back, like they try to bring some kind of Leisure Suit Larry game. I remember when PlayStation 2 and the game did horrible, and it's just like, what are you? You're a dopey looking like guy that looks like Jimmy Neutron.
Like Jimmy Neutron's like 20 years later, and he's like a fucking like, he's like, yeah, you know who I was? I was fucking Jimmy Neutron. You suck my dick.
Yeah, I got none of that money back, but I'll show you what I do got. Look what science gave me.
Yeah, just slams it down like, yeah, but what about that? Check out this fucking Leisure Suit.
Then I don't think that game. I never played it. Didn't jump out at me. But I remember that was one of those old games. Like I remember there was that fucking show on G4, and this is gonna like really scare maybe some younger listeners. But there was that show. I think it was Judgment Day, and there's the one guy who was. There's these two guys. There's one guy that was the straight man. There's the one guy who's the wild and wacky guy. We mentioned these guys before.
Well, one
of them, his last name was Lucas, and he was like somehow related to George Lucas. The other, his first name was Tommy. His last name wasn't Tyler, but
it was Talrico.
He's related. Talrico?
Yeah, it's Steven Tyler's real last name.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, he is, related to Steven Tyler. I think it's his cousin or something, and he even has like a music studio. And like I remember just watching this, and like one of them would always be like, the guy. I usually don't try to like, I don't really take criticism that much. And one of them was like, the one guy, the guy Luke, whatever Lucas.
It was like Victor. He would always try like that, maybe
Victor Lucas, Jeff Lucas, Victor Lucas, something like that. And he would always come in, and he was like, actually, he would approach it from a real critical level, but he wouldn't be like snobby about it. He was actually fairly likable. He was level-headed, and if he said he didn't like the game, he wouldn't rip into it and kick in the balls, being too mean about it. He'd just say, look, I didn't like the game because of this, because of that. They could have worked on this better, but here's what I did like. The other guy would be like, oh, I had like, really long load times. I didn't like it that much. It was just like, it's boring, da-da-da-da. Or like, oh, but this game had like awesome like tits physics and like realistic vomit when the guy throws up. So for that, I'm going to give it like 7 out of 10, So
yeah, like he was like, it was one of those ones like, what the fuck? And that guy, he did games like on Cool Spot. He did the soundtrack to that. So he's done like cool soundtracks, but it was just like, talk about getting the guy who was just like, who the fuck is this guy who thinks he's got this big wild opinion?
And then like he also I know he did the game, or he did the music to the game Advent Rising. And that game was just this unfinished, it was a train wreck. I remember seeing a trailer for it sometime back it was for the original Xbox. And it was like the science fiction game. It's like you could activate these matrix like powers where you slow down time and shoot really fast, and whatever power you used more of, you get stronger. And it was basically force powers, and it was even the scripts of the story was written by Orson Scott Card, and they're making it out to be as if it was going to be this big grand like step in gaming, and they had this trailer and this early making up for it, and then eventually the game comes out, and the game's like it's fairly cheap when it comes out. I want to say it was like where your average game would be like $60 at that time. It was like $30. Maybe $40.
I thought it was still $50. And I got it like all the regular ones. I thought it was still $50.
Oh well, maybe I got it on a rollback sale or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you must have got it on a special because it was sold as a main game.
Yeah, so I must have gotten a special sale of some kind. Then, well, I'm glad because paying full price for that fucking game, holy shit. Yeah, so basically, the whole game was just glitchy as fuck. You'd be hiding behind you could like literally hide behind something. Bullets would be going through and hitting you depending on some spots. It was just glitchy as fuck. It was very unpolished. People talk all this shit on Sonic 06, which in all honesty is mostly deserved. But this game is like, I think Sonic's a recognizable character, and it's by Sega. So people are like, how the fuck could they let this happen? Where this game is like, no, this game makes Sonic 06 look like fucking like Gears of War or something like that. The guy, and come back to the main point, the guy, I don't remember if he liked the game or not, but without mentioning his role in it, yeah, I really liked the music. The music was pretty cool. I like that. It's like, you fucking douchebag. Like, I saw him like in the making of the game.
Yeah, we know who you are. No, yeah, it's goofy how those guys sort of were I think they were just, I almost feel like they were just hired on just to sort of, well, one guy, as I said, the Lucas guy was normal, but the Tommy guy was just there to like fucking like hit a beehive with a baseball bat. That's like what he was there for, just to piss people off.
I mean, part of me sort of gets it. I'm not really defending it, but I mean, I'm at that point now. Before I would see like maybe some kind of clickbaity article saying, 7 reasons why this thing is not as bad as people say it is, or 7 reasons why this thing everyone loves actually sucks. And before I would click on it, try and almost like test my, I don't know, I guess just try and see it from another perspective, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm at that point, though, where I feel like every once in a while, one of those can kind of like stick out to me and be like, yeah, that actually is a good point. Most of the time, though, it's just clickbaity shit. Just something that they're just saying, just like, some article, 7 reasons why Force Awakens will suck. Like, no, fuck you. I'm not clicking on that shit.
No, well, they want you just to,
Find out.
they want you to flip through the 7 pages and just see all the ads so they get their 0.10 cents every single time you look at each page.
Yeah, there was actually one that I thought Dorkly did one. I couldn't help it, but I'm very glad I did click on it. It said 7 reasons why the Deadpool and X-Men Origins was way better than the Deadpool and the Deadpool movie. And you click on it, it's a little comic of a guy like, oh, hey, you actually clicked on it. Well, you see what with the guy with the original version, he just breaks down, starts crying. I don't know. It's you gotta to get anybody to click on your things this day and age. You can't be positive. You got to say something controversial. And I don't know. I'm so sorry. And now he starts crying. and so I just thought that was funny.
Oh, that's kind of funny. You didn't see the new Nintendo news though? It's only like the biggest thing.
I did. I was watching the Logan trailer 45 times today, but what's the big Nintendo news?
Oh, they had the full-on trailer for the new Nintendo NX, which they're just calling the Nintendo Swap now.
What? One more time. They're calling it the what?
They're calling it the Nintendo Swap, right? Is that what it's called?
Swap.
Switch. My bad. I knew it had something.
Switch. That's still not a good name. It's still not a good name.
No, it doesn't sound. Once again, doesn't sound as cool
almost
as the NX, but it does make sense because the whole point is it like shows. It's funny. It shows like these really like trendy people like in New York or in San Francisco or whatnot, just kind of like just like hanging out. Like, oh, I'm playing Legend of Zelda. What do you know? Oh, fuck, my friend's called. Well, guess what? I'll fucking take my game system with me. And then he's like walking up and like sits down and he just starts playing. It'd be funny if he just went to the friend's house, went in the fucking corner, sat down and kept playing. Like what would really happen?
That's probably what's going to happen at some point. Well, I remember the other one. I'm clicking this in. I'm looking at it right now. I remember the other one, the first Wii U trailer. They would make it as if you could just like keep on playing the game while like someone wants to come in and watch TV. But I think back in the 90s,
it really should have been just like a dad comes stumbling in with a couple beers, like chucks it at the fucking like wall, like points, like doesn't have to
watching the fucking game.
Yeah, well, go to a football game and you go in your goddamn room and play your sex box. It's a Nintendo. Well, I don't give a fuck.
Well, that trailer, because the thing about that is, I'm going to look at it right now. Okay, it's only 3 minutes and 38 seconds. No, but the thing about that is, like, I remember that would probably be a big deal back in the 90s, but now it's just like, okay, you can't just watch it on your phone, you can't stream it, or you don't have another TV in the house, I don't want to sound like a fucking, like, entitled rich prick or anything, but like, oh, you only have one TV, but you know what I mean? It's
but like this day and age, it's like, you can get a fucking TV for $10. Like if you need another TV, that's not like that big of a deal anymore. So yeah, I know that's one of those features. If that would have came out like on the N64, mind blown, would have been fucking amazing. Think about how cool it'd be. Like, oh, someone comes in, because that was literally a time period where you probably had 2 TVs in the house and only one really good one. So it's like, what am I gonna do? Go plug the black and white TV in the back room? Like, I don't know if I want to do that. Like, I've tried playing some of those games in black and white. Fucking, you have no idea what's going on. Have you ever played Super Smash Bros. In black and white? That is the most confusing game when it's in black and white.
What the fuck is this controller? It looks they're doing kind of like the Wii U connection thing, and I could not imagine, now he's out in the field, I could not imagine taking that thing with me outside. I'd be afraid someone would break it or it'd snap in my backpack.
Well, I already am scared to take the Wii U controller over to somebody else's house, let alone that system. But
yeah, if I actually had an iPad,
I would can just full on take the system with you. Like if you were like going on a trip or something like that, that's pretty darn cool. And the fact that it just easily plugs into the TV and it kind of goes back and forth. The downfall though is once again, will it be in this weird lull period between like, okay, now it's as powerful as a PS4, but guess what? PS4 Pro's coming out. So boom, they just trumped Nintendo once again.
Well, it is one of those things. I'm looking at it now. I mean, it is kind of cool. It almost seems to me that just going off this trailer, which isn't done yet, it somewhat seems like this cool between period, but not really official. Oh my, what the fuck are they got? These guys must be in a band or some bullshit. Anyway, fucking Fresh Prince here. I'm sorry, I'm reacting to the trailer.
Yeah, they got
Anyway,
like it's like some guys playing basketball or whatnot. Like, oh shit, why are we playing basketball in real life? We can fucking sit down and play this on the Wii or on the fucking like Nintendo. Yeah. What the fuck is it called again? Swap, Sledge? Fucking I don't know. NX.
I'll say it. Swap to me always is like. I'm glad it's called the Switch, because swap, I know it's not, but it always sounds like a racist slur to me. Ah, you fucking swap, you know?
You and your fucking swaps coming around here playing your fucking game systems.
They're really trying to sink in the name of this console by having Switch pop up between every transition here.
Well, because now they got to get the NX out of everybody's mind now and get it switched over. Literally, switched.
Yeah, okay, whatever. Nintendo's really the best at naming their systems, I don't think. But at least ever since the
N64, maybe.
I'm gonna say the Wii.
Still good, actually.
64 was fine. I don't like the name for the Wii. I didn't like the name for that.
No, well, but the Wii had like a way cooler name before they called it Wii. Can't remember what the hell.
Revolution.
Yeah.
Revolution.
It was the Nintendo Revolution.
Well, this right here, it looks more of kind of like handheld. Just a handheld Wii, which is cool, but it seems like just more of like the new DS more than the actual next system. You know what I mean?
Well, I think what they are trying to do, which might be the smartest thing that Nintendo could probably... I don't know if they're going to try to go like, no, this is like, we literally won't have a Game Boy or a Nintendo system. It's just this one in-between thing, which might not be the worst idea, is just to literally just merge that two together, because that would be a pretty fucking powerful game lot if you had both, in a sense, your Game Boy games and your, I'm going to say just Wii U games at the moment. You combine those two together, that's
March.
Quite a bit.
That's a weird time to drop a system. Okay.
Yeah, March.
I mean, I really wasn't expecting it to come out on December, because it would be so short notice, but March is really surprising me, especially since we only have really an official, we saw snippets of like Mario and Splatoon, but we only game we officially know is coming out. I don't even think it's coming out by March. Maybe I'm wrong. Is Zelda?
Yeah, apparently it's supposed to that one's supposed to come out in March. I'm not too sure if that's the exact case, but I keep checking on Amazon. I have it where it's like they'll send me a fucking email, let me know when I can pre-order it. But yeah, it's kind of weird. It's just like, okay, when's this thing coming out? I mean, like March is really like almost barely even a little over 5 months away, give or take on when time.
That trips me out.
Actually, it could be less. If it came out at the beginning of March, it'll probably come out at the end, but it means it's literally like 5 months away. So it's kind of weird that I can't pre-order it yet. Like, when am I going to be able to pre-order this thing? I want to make sure that no fucking kid gets in my way.
I think it's one of those things where it's video game companies do this thing. It's like, it's a little different with the system, but I think it could still probably do it. Like, whenever a company says, okay, here's this video game, it's coming out. Oops, sorry, it's delayed. Are you ever surprised it's delayed? I'm never surprised when it's delayed. I feel like they just say it's out, it's going to be out by this time, so it's in people's minds, and then when it gets a little close to that time, they just delay it. You know, I don't think they're doing it to be shitty or cynical. I think they're just doing that to keep it in people's. I don't know where cynical came from. I'm not being cynical, but I think they're doing it to like just keep it in people's minds, keep it out there.
Well, it's that, and you know that they come to the conclusion that fuck, we can't be able to finish this in time. Which that's why I always think it's weird when people get all pissy. It's like, what do you mean it's fucking delayed again? It's like, to make a better game, so you don't get a broken game, so you don't get a fucking Advent Rising. That's the reason why the game's delayed. You know what I mean? I always think of
now they don't. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say some of the best games I can think of were delayed tons of times, like Resident Evil 4. A lot of times the Zelda games are always like that, and they always come out like perfect. So delay is a good thing mostly.
Usually the delays, I think it's one of those things. Someone made a couple of points. When a game is delayed, it's usually like, I think the latest, most good games are delayed maybe 1, maybe 2 years. Whenever it's a case like a game's delayed for like 5 years, I think that's when you just start.
Oh yeah, well that's a little bit different. That's mostly means something else is fucking going
like
on.
Star Citizen is one of those crowdfunded games, and they're saying you could do this, you could do that, and it's this total crowdfunded game that everyone's super excited about. It started off as a much simplistic game, but the more money they got, the more it just stretched out.
And then they're like, now they started getting a bunch of money. They're like, fucking, they're like partying and blowing that money and like spending it on big expensive shit at their office. And then like people are like, where the fuck's my game? Oh yeah, about that. Sorry, the cocaine got in the way
Shit.
between that. Ugh, thanks for the Kickstarter fund.
We originally got the coke, to make us work faster, but got a little sidetracked. You know what I mean? Anyway, but I do think that's one of those things where that game, there's no way that game comes. I'm not saying this to be an asshole. No way that game comes out and everyone's going to be happy. I'm pretty sure that game is going to disappoint people. It's probably going to be like, oh, you know what? It's fun. It's playable. Is it nearly as fun, or was it worth the 5-year wait? No. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I will hope the game's good, but
I know, yeah, because I've heard some people talk about it that really like it, but it seems like it has weird things in it. Like, you can literally spend physical money on like spaceship insurance in the game. So if in case your spaceship crashes,
fuck that.
It's kind of like, boy, that just sounds so scammy. Like that to me, if you were spending in-game currency, like, oh, if you spend 500 rupees or whatever, you get a fucking spaceship insurance card. It'd be like, that'd be different. But the fact that it's like, run your fucking MasterCard on here, we'll give you some insurance, hey?
Yeah, I'm not too big on that. I understand that someone's got to pay to make these games run. I get it, especially if I wasn't even sure what it was. I figured it was a big online game. I mean, this is one of those things like Star Citizen is one of those games I'm not even really keeping up with that much. I heard about it when it was first coming out. I looked at the trailer for it then. I'm like, oh, okay, we'll see what happens. They talk about it 3 years later. I'm like, oh, fuck, really? That's still in the works? I thought, okay, whatever. And then the other day, I hear something on it. I'm like, are you shitting me? That thing is still not out yet? Holy fuck.
Yeah, I know. I hear people talk about it every once in a while. They'll kind of tell me about the features and things like that. And to me, it's just, those always sound like those kind of games. It's like, well, that sounds great if you don't do anything in life. Like, that sounds like a perfect game if, like, I broke my fucking legs and couldn't go anywhere and I was strapped to a computer and I couldn't do animation. Yeah, that does sound like a fun game. But for the rest of us that have shit to do, that just sounds like way, way too deep of a game.
Shitting on people's... Yeah, I like how you last few podcasts you've been like, you know what, man, it's just not for me, but I don't want to take it from anybody else. I hope people enjoy it. I hope someone likes it. Now you're just like, yeah, for these fucking nerds that don't got a fucking life.
Now, I do realize as somebody who's creative, you almost need those people out there in life that literally don't do anything except for indulge in other people's entertainment, because that's in a sense your bread and butter. You know what I mean? When you really break it down, you need that guy that shows up to every fucking concert, so he doesn't play in a band or doesn't do anything, but he's there spending fucking hard-earned cash on CDs and t-shirts and all that kind of shit. That guy's important. Even though it might not look like his life's going anywhere except for going to concerts, that guy is definitely funding so many other people's fucking creative adventures.
So that's your way of saying thank you to anybody who sees a future movie of yours or buys this album of you.
Yeah, who buys our shit.
Thank you for wasting your life on my shit. Thank you. Thank you.
But there is some of those games that's kind of like, it's like, I love video games, but it's like that thing where nowadays it's like I need a game mostly that's around that, just the regular, like, anywhere between like 8 to like 15 hours. That's like the perfect length because it won't take too much time to beat it. You can either do it in like couple hour increments every day, or you could take a fucking like whole weekend and knock the thing out. When you get to those games that just go on and on and on, and it just, you have to put time and time and time like that. Those are those ones that's like, I feel like when you're kind of an adult, that seems kind of like, okay, that seems like too much. Now, maybe if that's the only game you play and you're getting your total money's worth out of it, and, maybe you are only putting an hour or two in every night, but you've been playing it for the last, like, 6 months, so you really have gotten your money's worth out of it, well, maybe that's a little bit different. I guess I've always been the person who's like, well, fuck, there's so many other games I want to play. I want to get this one done in 10 hours so I can go on to the next one at some point.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons why I heard people talking about they're really excited for No Man's Sky. And that's one of those games like, this game can go on forever. It's randomly generated online, and you just can come across a planet and you can name the planet, but from what I understand it, it's like nothing really stands out. Like, it does that, but it's just like, okay, it's one of these several types. This one just happens to have more of this kind of trees or these kind of animals or whatever. That's what I've heard. I don't know how true that is. That's just the short and simple of it.
Well, like, that's the game. For the people that I've talked to that have gotten it, it's one of those ones, if you go into the game for what it is, then,
it's fun.
For that type of person, it's really fun. Like, to me, it doesn't sound like my kind of game. Like whenever I hear the word like there's no fucking real ending, it's like, well, that's not my game then.
Yeah.
I think it's almost like the adult person's like Minecraft kind of game, I guess, is what that game's trying to be. But the fact that it's made by 13.
Oh yeah, because you can build bases or whatever.
Yeah, but to me, it's like I go, well, the fact that game's made by 13 people, that's pretty kind of cool. I like things like that. I'm always impressed with the small.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's kind of the neat thing about the game. But it's sold as like a AAA title, yet it's kind of just a ginormous independent game.
That's cool. It got that far. Then I almost got more respect for it.
Yeah, so I almost feel like I got a lot more respect for it like that. I know at the end of the day, it's not really my type of game, so there's no reason for me to go out and get it. So, I really respect that these 13 guys did it. Am I gonna spend any fucking money on it? No, because at the end of the day, I don't got fucking time for that kind of shit. Like,
I get you.
Was that a good review or a bad review? I'm not too sure.
I'm trying to think of what like a crowdfunded thing really didn't leave a lot of people trying to sue them, saying like, "Well, this isn't what I expected or what I wanted." I mean,
well, that's
maybe
so
there's
goofy.
something.
Like the idea to be able to like go like, "Well, you know what? I didn't like this game, so I want Kickstarter to give me my money back." It's like, that's. You know what? It's almost like one of those ones like, it's fucking like gambling in a sense. You know what I mean? You don't go to fucking Las Vegas, bet $100 and go, he fucking cheated me on blackjack. I want Caesar's Palace to give me my $100 back. It's like, no, you fat fuck.
Sad thing is, you know that has to happen.
Oh, that you know somebody. You know that happens probably day in, day out. And it's probably the guy that has to like deal with those people. It's like, I fucking hate those fuckers that come in here and expect to get their money back and give me some fucking sob story, fuck their life and fuck their dog. And he doesn't mean it like in a dick way.
I miss the days where we could just take them out.
Yeah, take them out, fucking put their hands on the table, get a fucking hammer out.
The hammer. De Niro him, yeah.
Yeah, fucking De Niro this guy, casino style.
Knock this guy's eye out.
But no, it's so goofy when, like, I hear that. It's just like, even like the Star, what's that game called again? Star Citizen. Star Citizen. Like that game too, because a lot of people were pulling out of that one once they started hearing like the guys like spending money and not getting anything done and things like that. But even still, it's like, dude, you know what you're fucking in for. Like, if you didn't want to like throw that money in for the risk, you just wait till the game finally comes out and then you buy it. You know what I mean? If you throw the money in the beginning, you know what I mean? It's a form of investment. It's like buying stocks in a sense. You're gonna throw money in there. Maybe that company just craps out on you. You never know. It's like that's kind of the whole gamble of taking it. Right now, like the one game that I bought like fucking a year and a half ago, it seems like by now, is there was the new Castlevania that's not called Castlevania, but it's made by the guy who's done Symphony of the Night and all the other really sweet like Metroidvania, Castlevania games. And he's got his Bloodstained Ritual of the Night game coming out, but I think that's being delayed to like 2018 now. It's like, when am I going to get my Wii U copy of that game? Like by the time that like nobody's going to have a Wii U anymore.
Yeah. Well, what was the other? There's another big one. Oh yeah, like this one's ridiculous. Like they had, I remember another example was Mighty Number 9. I remember that game was supposed to come out like almost 3 or 4 years ago. And then it just finally came out this year. And people like, well, plays kind of like Mega Man, looks kind of like Mega Man. I like that, but I don't know why it took so long for it to come out.
Well, it's one of those kind of games, too. Like, I kind of feel like I almost bought that game when it came out. Then I was like, I didn't get it right away. And then I started seeing some of the reviews. And it was kind of sad because it felt like that game had such big hype. It was like, this is going to be the next big thing. Fuck Capcom. Fuck them up their stupid asses. Like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it myself. Mega Man. We can't say Mega Man. Okay, Mighty Number 9. Okay, yeah, I'm going to fucking do this. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, it's like, you get this big fucking like a real big deal creator guy, and then he kind of has this game come out and has this like lukewarm response where it's like, well, it's not bad, but it's like a 6 or 7 out of 10. I mean, it's still fun. I mean, if you really like Mega Man, but maybe not as good as Mega Man. And that was kind of the thing. It was like at the end of the day, it's kind of people are like, well, it's okay. It's not as good as Mega Man, things like that. I played the demo already.
Well, I remember when the game was coming out, people were making a thing about it, and they were talking about like, well, then before the game was even out, they were like, because it was like Capcom. I kind of feel bad for the guy. He's like, I want to make this kind of Mega Man game. Like, people don't give a shit for Mega Man anymore, and Capcom just almost going the Konami route, it seems. But they weren't letting him make it, so fuck you, I'm out. I'm doing my own thing. And then, like, as the thing was coming out further along, they're making more endorsement deals. There's a cartoon that was supposed to come out with this. I don't know if it did. I remember seeing a trailer for it. I haven't heard anything about it since then. I think I would have by now. So, all this stuff like this is happening, that's happening, a cartoon, a movie. Then it's just like, yeah.
Well, the sad thing about that game too is that game came out and it was like $30. I mean, and literally like 2 weeks later, it dropped down to like $20 and $15. It was like, oh fuck, like they realized that a lot of people just did not pick up on this, and I do feel bad too because this is sort of in a sense, this guy he's not the first guy to kind of like one of those big guys that jump ship and try to do their own like thing. I guess you could almost say Shinji Mikami, the guy who created Resident Evil. He kind of jumped ship a little bit earlier than everybody. He almost jumped ship before like we knew that the ship was kind of crashing. Like he had the inside news, and he's like, "Fuck this shit! I'm gonna go off and make the Evil Within, and work on Shadows of the Damned and all these other kind of like weird ass games that are pretty much Resident Evil but not Resident Evil." So he was kind of, and nobody really kind of noticed at that point. It's like, "Oh, what do you know? He's kind of doing something different. Well, that's cool." And then next thing you know,
there's a lot. Go ahead.
I was just saying, next thing you know, it's like, oh fuck, Capcom's kicking out the the guy who made Mega Man, and Konami's kicking out the guy who did Castlevania, and they're kicking out, fucking Hideo Kojima, and all these guys now have jumped ship from all these Japanese companies. So they started like, well, guess what? You know what? We'll do the games people fucking love just independently, and everybody's rejoicing. And then Mighty Number 9, I feel was kind of like the start of like, hey, I mean, it's not really technically the first game, but I felt like it was the first really big one. It's an independent company, but you got this classic guy making it. And then when that kind of fails, people go, oh, fuck, hopefully the Castlevania guy's game's still fine, or hopefully Hideo Kojima's next one comes out good, Hideo
Kojima still has, whatchamacallit, the trailer for his game coming out looks so cryptic. It's like the guy from Walking Dead waking up on like what looks like a post-apocalyptic beach. There's a bunch of dead whales and manatees laying around everywhere, and he has this cord going from his stomach to like a baby, and he picks up the baby, he's holding it. I don't remember what song's playing, but then it's just like, what the fuck is this, So I mean, he's trying to do something. He's always pushing for something different. Like I'm not sure if I would have liked that Silent Hills game, but regardless, he's always pushing for something different.
It's kind of the funny thing, like the Silent Hills one, that almost looks like, oh, Resident Evil just literally took that fucking idea and ran with it. Oh, they're not fucking doing it? Well, we'll kind of do it instead.
Thing about the original Resident Evils, I actually not the original Resident Evils, Resident Evil 4 and on, those are the ones I've played. Those ones, I don't know, I feel like I don't like feeling entirely helpless. I like feeling like I'm at a disadvantage, but I don't like feeling entirely helpless. So when you have a game where it's like, okay, I got a gun, but I just got to use it sparingly, or I got to just plan ahead, that's fine. But something like, I guess, Outlast, or what Silent Hills looked like, which is where you're just solving puzzles and there's jump scares, that's where it doesn't really jump out to me as much.
Well, those games just to me, like the ones I've played like that, they're just not fun. Like the Silent Hills, whatever fucking tech demo thing was retarded. Outlast.
You hate that?
I hated it. It was stupid. Like I played it, I was like, this is
same
dumb.
Fucking hallway.
Yeah, it was stupid.
I'll say it was creepy.
And then like Outlast, like that game, it's like it's not even scary when I can't like attack an enemy and it's just like guys just come up and you just start punching you and it's like, what can I do? Oh, you can't do anything. You just gotta run away. It's like, okay, how is this fun or scary? Like this is stupid. It gets to the point like if a game gets to the point where it's stupid, then the scariness just goes fucking out the door and you're like, done, don't want to play it. And that's sort of how the Resident Evil 7 demo was. And the thing about Resident Evil, sometimes people go like, oh, well, the old ones were like, survival horror. I'm like, yeah, but they always had action in it. You always had a fucking rocket launcher or a Magnum or something like that. And no matter what, about halfway to any Resident Evil game, next thing you know, you got a fucking arsenal built up as long as you didn't blow your ammo like an idiot. It's always been an action game no matter what that just happened to have a bunch of survival horror in it. So the idea to take out the action to me just seems like, well, might as well don't even fucking call it Resident Evil. I know why they're calling it Resident Evil, because that's how you sell a game. If they just called it like Capcom's Scary Mansion game that looks kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but not nearly as cool, then it, who the fuck's going to buy that title?
boss, you really need to workshop this title right here. No, fuck it. It's what the heart wants. I'm going with it.
Yeah, that looks so. I almost look at that game and like, I would rather just have a Texas Chainsaw Massacre game if that's where you're going at. Let's just fucking go the whole distance.
Well, I saw a second one. I saw like a second trailer where the guy actually did have a gun. It was just like, I'm not sure if it functions like a first-person shooter, but the guy was actually firing at zombies and whatnot. So, I mean,
hopefully they add more to it. That's all I have to say.
Otherwise, I guess it's just a weird, like, last time they did a first-person shooter, like Resident Evil, didn't work out so well from what you told me.
Yeah, Survivor is kind of like, and I'll tell you this, I know it's just a demo, but it's like, compare that Resident Evil 7 demo, it's like, dude, Survivor's like way better of a game than that. At least it's actually fun. I guess there's Gun Survivor 2, or in the US it's known as Dead Aim. That one's actually pretty good on PS2, but
I guess my problem with I don't have I like when it comes to horror, whether it be movies or video games, I like creepy shit. I think every single thing that's horror is entitled to a couple of jump scares, but when it is all just jump scare, that's where it just annoys me. And I don't know, a game like Outlast or something, what looks like, just going off the trailer to that Resident Evil game, that doesn't really look like a jump. It's going to, no pun intended, doesn't look like it's going to jump out to me so much. So.
Well, because Resident Evil, Resident Evil's always kind of had jump scares, but it's more like, oh fuck, there's something there, shoot it. Oh good, it died.
There's been jump scares, but I don't feel like it relies entirely on jump scares.
No,
it would have those
moments. Lots of times too, like you get like those.
You could see it coming if you're smart enough to stop. Go ahead.
It's that, or you get the kind of ones like they're actually not intended jump scares. It's that thing where every once in a while in a game you're just like do 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 do, and then you just turn around. It's like, oh fuck, there's something right behind me this whole time, and it's just like it wasn't like intended in the game. It just happened to be this fucking creature was just right behind you the whole time, and you just kept enough distance that it couldn't grab you yet until you fucking turned around, and it just happened to be right there.
There's that, and like going off of my memory from Resident Evil 4, it's things kind of like, I'm thinking back on that game. If you're smart enough, you can actually just kind of like, maybe you won't know where it's coming from. You can walk into a room and just kind of analyze certain things. Like, okay, there is something I've never seen over there before. That is a white container with a red blinking light. I've never seen that before. As I move forward, it explodes, and a guy on fire comes running towards you. So it's like, I should have known something like that was going to happen. I think those games are pretty good about like giving you like just enough little hints that something's different. But like before, there's guys that kind of creep me out the most, which are the black things that have like the skull faces that are smiling and they take forever to walk, and then you have to use the heat vision to like zoom in on the thing, the little bug thing inside of them.
Oh yeah. Like those
you hear those things from like, you hear that when you walk into the room. And hearing it is so, like, knowing it's there and then seeing it from a distance is so much scarier than just hearing it and then jumping out at you out of nowhere.
Exactly. And actually, when I was talking about, like, just all of a sudden turning around, that was the creature that was right there behind me in that game. I remember once I was like, oh, what the fuck? And I was just running around for a while. And I couldn't
always hear that thing, because then it falls on the ground, like snakes around, and comes up.
Yeah. But, that's the thing about Resident Evil. I just, when I look at that 7 one, it's like, and some people have told me, they're like, oh, well, that game's actually being developed for VR, so the experience is going to be completely different from someone playing it in VR than it is playing it, like, from the screen. And it's like, okay, but it is one of those ones, like, I mean, maybe if they add more to it, I don't know, it's just so radically different that I just feel like, why are you calling that Resident Evil 7? I mean, once again, I know why they're doing it, because that's how you sell a game. But it's so it's like, it's like having a Mario game that happens to be like a law drama. It's like, wait, what? Which, did you see the new Mario looking thing on the fucking Switch? Like, that one looks it looks like it's Mario 64 style.
Yeah. I couldn't really. I mean, it looks like just Mario running through like a desert in a certain area. Not enough to tell what the game was, but like, yeah, there's a Mario game coming out. Big shocker. The 4 things I noticed was Zelda. What I'm guessing is like Monster Hunter, maybe.
That's what I was thinking, but
Maybe
somebody said it was Skyrim I saw on like Amazon, so I was like, what the
Skyrim. Yeah, I think. Well, I know Monster Hunter had some kind of deal with them before, so I don't know if they still do. But like probably, what I assume was probably Skyrim, and then Mario Kart. So I mean, yeah, I'm more likely to get that than a Wii U. For a while, I was like, well, I'm like, the Wii U is probably going to play. That's probably going to play Wii U games. So I'm like, oh, probably won't unless you can download them.
Yeah, I don't think it probably will because it doesn't look like it has a disk drive in it. It looks like it's using cartridges, like a PSP
But yeah,
Vita.
yeah. So, I mean, I think it's to some extent it kind of makes sense. But I didn't really think of it until you said it, but it kind of makes sense for them to almost merge their main console with the handheld because handhelds has always been what they've been good at.
Well, yeah, it's one of those ones like because no matter what, they've always had like the fucking handheld market like nobody's business. You know, the PSP and the PSP Vita are fucking awesome systems, but they just never really caught on. You know, they're really cool. They got a bunch of great games, but for some reason, there's just something about it. I think in Japan they've always been really fucking big deal, but in the U.S. they've always just kind of been that I don't know, like almost like a luxury item as far as gaming goes. I don't know how else to describe it, but that's sort of what it is. It's kind of like for the man who has everything gaming, a PSP Vita.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah. I remember people. I mean, sometimes people are so quick. Like I remember, like I almost kind of because no one can really know or predict the future. But I remember back when the DS, when the DS and the PSP were first coming out, the original ones, and there are so many articles talk about, oh my god, like just the PSP looks so cool. Like I remember like reading group. Like, oh my! Now you just like look at interviews on YouTube or whatever. But I'm thinking back. Oh, how often do you actually get to read like magazines anymore talking about this kind of shit? But no, I remember like
that's
reading
all I
a
do
group
read.
discussion. Yeah, I know, but it's just rare. It seems to rarely happen now. But like,
I know. I'm like one
now
of
it
the
just seems
last
to be
people that
online.
like still subscribes to video game magazines.
But no, it's like I remember reading like a roundtable discussion of a bunch of like video game critics about the handhelds, and they were all just taking fat shits on the
It's just
DS.
no, they were just
Saying, "Oh my
literally
god, the
taking
PS."
fat shits in the corner of the rooms. Like this is all they're doing. I thought you were gonna talk about PSP versus DS. No, we're just gonna take fat shits while you watch because you
Yeah,
paid $4.99 for this magazine.
yeah. When you open up the magazine, usually it came with like kind of little like disc and with a bunch of demos. Well, along with that, it came with some Polaroids of them taking a shit on a DS. So there you go. But signed by all of them. No, but anyway, no, yeah, they're all just shitting on the DS, saying, "Oh, it's so clunky, it's so ugly." I don't know. I think this is one where Nintendo finally drops the ball on like the handhelds. I mean, they cornered that, but all it would really take is just for Sony to come in and just bitch slap them or whatever. It's like, yeah, I mean, real knowledge base of the industry. You guys are fucking DS is still owning that shit.
I know it's like even like because realistically, like a PSP Vita, technically, like is better than the DS. But the one thing that they will never have, they just don't have the games that like they can outbeat Nintendo. Like Nintendo makes, and that's why I think the Wii U, even for the people that don't have it, but it's the system that no matter what, at the end of the day, you'll have these Nintendo games that you will not be able to get that experience whatsoever on a PlayStation or an Xbox. No matter what, they will never ever make a game that captures that same feel as like a Mario Kart or a Super Mario Maker or a Splatoon, or a Legend of Zelda. It's like even the rip-off games, they still aren't the same. They just still feel kind of like, oh, it's a knockoff. Is it close? Yeah, it's close. Kind of like that Sonic All-Star Racing game. Yeah, it's close to Mario Kart. It's fun, but it's not. Still, at the end of the day, it's not as good as Mario Kart.
Yeah, well, I think another reason why maybe Nintendo has cornered the market better as far as handhelds go is that the handheld version of whatever game you got, it's always going to be a low-end version of the main console game. It always is. Nothing's going to change that. I think maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the DNX Switch or whatever the fuck they're calling it. Maybe that might change it if that's actually if they treat that as a handheld and a main system. But the thing is, I think that Nintendo has been smart enough to know, okay, we can't really do as much on the DS or the Game Boy as we can on whatever our main system is right now. So let's just try and use another aspect of the game we never really thought of before. I think they were smart enough to like, okay, so that's why keep them Pokemon exclusive for the Game Boy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or why, that's why when they do a Zelda game, it's like, okay, we could just try to do a big, grandiose like Zelda, like Twilight Princess on the 3DS, but really it's gonna seem kind of smaller in comparison. So what if we actually just did it like old school style Zelda, but just added some new little tricks into it?
Yeah, exactly. There's things like that. Well, I do kind of wonder, like when I with that, like I keep on calling it the NX, but it's not the NX. But with the fucking Switch coming out, it is kind of an interesting thing to think about. Like, will they still be doing the 3DS? I mean, I could see that going on for about another couple of years at least before it like they all merge completely together. Just for the fact that the 3DS almost kind of feels like, well, there's still going to be a market for things like that'll be a place for Pokemon. That'll be a place almost for like kid stuff because they almost look like the Switch is almost more like geared towards adults. Like I could not imagine fucking handing that system to like a child. You know what I mean? It looks too delicate, looks too nice. And it almost maybe that's what Nintendo's trying to do is finally get to a point where they're like, no, here's a fucking really adult-oriented system. You know what I mean?
I don't want to sound like a pussy. But if I get a Switch, it's not leaving my fucking house. That thing looks too. I mean, it's a good looking. The way it looks cool and all that. But I could see that thing. I'm sure they'll come out with some kind of special case to hold it. I could see that thing snapping in my backpack. I can see bumping in my bag, bumping into something else, and just breaking. Yeah, that thing is just like, yeah, I know it can leave, but it's not fucking leaving, you know?
You know, strange enough though, I bet you it will probably be pretty darn sturdy though. I mean, they're not going to make a system. I mean, you look how fucking sturdy a Game Boy is, or a DS or anything like that. Like, you can pretty much, if somebody did drop them or anything like that, when you see like a retard drop them or something like that, they survive. So, I mean, I think one's going to be more, because, you like a console always feels delicate. Like, this is where it will lie. This is its place now. Xbox One, this is your new home. Enjoy it. This is where you'll stay until you die. I feel this one will be pretty, I think everything in it's going to be very solid state. As long as
Oh, go ahead. I thought you were done that. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say, as long as you probably have a case for the screen part of it all, which they probably have something like that slippy slide holder. I don't know what the fuck you're going to do, but there's probably something that goes into it. I assume it's not just
like
a
full,
just like full
slippy slide. It's like you said it's like this. You said like a slippy slide. What came to mind is kind of like a little like iPad like case that like almost looks like Slippy from Star Fox just slipping into his mouth or whatever.
Yeah,
like duh, that's a weird choice. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But so I'm assuming
I don't know. No real joke to that. That just was popped in my head. So there it is. I wish I didn't share that. But yeah.
Well, it looks like one of those ones where like there's the kind of cool thing is just like the many of options you can kind of do, which I know might seem kind of gimmicky, but the fact that like you can break that controller in half and you have two like mini controllers, pretty much just like the Wiimotes or anything. But that's kind of cool that like in a sense like, oh dude, I got my game. Oh, like you got a buddy sitting right next to you, like, oh fuck, we can both play this. For the game.
Well, I'm wondering if they're gonna. Go ahead, man. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, since the controller's just so see without the cameras, we just don't know when to stop or start. But
yeah, exactly.
But like you kind of look at that controller and it's like, okay, you got there's a joystick on each side, and then you got 4 buttons. Because at first I looked at that D-pad, I'm like, why the fuck is that D-pad like all like PlayStation old school style, where it's just 4 regular buttons? But it's like, oh, I get it. So it can split in half, and then each person has like 6 buttons and a joystick on each one. So you can pretty much do almost any game, generally, multiplayer like that, because you have enough buttons there, which is kind of cool.
One I could see them possibly trying to do, maybe something to the effect of where like the PSP fell short. Because I'm not going to lie, I got my PSP at the end of its run. And I bought it off a friend, like 3 games in the PSP, all for $100.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I kind of used that thing, it was before I had an iPod and before I had a smartphone. I think it was before smartphones were even big, really.
Smartphones weren't invented yet.
I think it were invented like a year later, maybe a year later after this, but or 2 years later maybe. But before I had an iPod, and what I would do is I actually just had like 3 or 4 little memory cards, and it was almost my music playing device. So I wouldn't be carrying I was still like walking around with a Walkman in my pocket or in my backpack, like an old CD Walkman. And this thing kind of became my new Walkman to a certain extent. So I just, get a lot of those old little like mini discs you put into the PSP, and that's kind of worked as an MP3 player. And I remember that was just my main source of music, and that's kind of what I, for a while, for about 2 or 3 years, that's what I mainly used the thing for. And I feel like that it kind of show. I think they wanted it to be more of that, like an all-around purpose, kind of like entertainment, little entertainment system. But I could see the Switch. Maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe time will tell. I could honestly see them maybe trying to make that not only like, because you look at video games now. Before it used to be just plays video games. What's it do now? Well, now it plays CDs and DVDs. Oh, okay, what's it do now? Well, now it streams Netflix and whatever. I think the next step is like, what's it do now? Well, it's kind of like an iPad. So you can play video games on it, or you can just do usual tablet shit on this thing. I could see them trying to do that with the Switch.
No, and you bring up a good point there, because really when the PSP came out, that's almost something that people kind of forget about. That's almost what made the PSP so freaking amazing at that time period, because once again, this was all before anybody had a smartphone, tablets, any of that stuff. The PSP was like the most intelligent fucking handheld device you could possibly have. And the idea you're holding this thing that not only plays games, you could put MP3s on it, you could put movies on it, you could go on the internet on it, you could do so much on this thing. It was like so badass. And just to carry that in your back pocket, it was just like, dude, I got a fucking computer with me in a sense. The closest thing you had to is maybe a Palm Pilot or anything like that, but that was about it.
Palm Pilot?
There was a time.
I forgot about that shit.
I remember
there
those
was a
things.
Time.
They seem so cool, they connect up to my Windows 98. But
I like it whenever you flash back. You could be going like, I remember Tony Hawk Pro Skater. It's Morgan Freeman talking in your head.
I know, it's just like, that was a time when, Goldfinger was a really cool hip band. That, even Tony Hawk himself used it as his main song.
It was all the rage with the kids when we played Pokemon cards.
Yeah.
If I could just if I would love to have that, just like have a movie, and whenever they're like anybody was having a flashback or a narration, Morgan Freeman was suddenly their internal voice.
Oh yeah, totally. But going to the Switch though, and I think that is sort of what they're kind of going with, because even nowadays, for like $20, you can buy one of those Bluetooth controllers that you could hook up to like either your Android or your iPad or anything like that. I kind of thought about it, I'm like, you could literally, and this is before I even seen the Nintendo thing, but it's like you could literally just put the kickstand up on like your iPad as a fucking like 13-inch screen, and you could kick back and you would have a controller, and you would almost have a very similar portable experience, because a lot of those games on there nowadays, they finally actually started putting some somewhat bigger games, not up to date, but they're beyond just like phone games. You can actually get some real games for once. I mean, and then you see that with the Nintendo, it's like, oh, that's pretty much what they're doing. They're like, flop the kickstand out, you and your buddies kick back and play. It's it's one of those ones, like, as a kid, this thing would be so cool, because I remember, like, the coolest thing ever was the fucking, like, the GameCube screens when those things came out. It's like, oh, fuck, we could play video games on the go? Like, well, we can always play Game Boy. Fuck Game Boy. You can play GameCube on the go now.
Yeah. Did you know anybody that had those game screens that attached?
Oh, dude, I knew tons of people that had those. It felt like...
I didn't, yeah.
I knew a couple of rich kids that had those, and it was great because... except for the thing is, like, the thing was only like a 5-inch screen, which is kind of mind-blowing when you think about it, because you're like, a 5-inch screen, it's like, that's like the size of my cell phone.
Punched over, like...
Well, I just remember playing, like, 4-player 007 on it, which pretty much made the screens come down to, like, 1.3 inches size, and it's just, like, the idea of... There's some of those things that I didn't even know, like, do kids even do those weird, stupid things where, like, they... almost like do something the most difficult way you could possibly do it, or the most inconvenient way known to mankind. But for some reason as a kid, it's like, oh my God, we could play fucking 007 in the treehouse? This is like, well, there's like a 36-inch TV in this room. That's like, yeah, but it's like, in the treehouse? Are you fucking kidding me? You get
the fact that you could take it into nature was like more important to you than actually.
Yeah, you're like, oh my God, like I don't have to get fucking bored while camping. I can play like a GameCube while being out there.
There is like I think it's one of those things that I never saw. When I saw like ads through those screens, but I never saw one in real life. I could literally see people just being kind of like, you know what? One thing is like like guys at Nintendo. The one thing is these screens are kind of small. So if you're playing like 4-player Mario Kart, you got literally like an inch and a half screen. Kind of hard to tell what's going on. Like Yeah, I was thinking about that. Then I realized something. We're already partway through production, and they're fucking kids. They'll buy it anyway. So fuck them.
Well, because they weren't even made by Nintendo. They were made by like off-brand like companies.
Oh, and they definitely didn't give a fuck then. Yeah, they
And,
sure as
and the
shit
thing
didn't give
too
a
is like
fuck
this.
at
I
all.
remember the screen resolution on them was crap. I remember playing Resident Evil on it. You could like it was so fucking dark. You had like a hard time telling. But at the same time, at that time period though, that was still fucking amazing. It was this
Unless
really.
it was like a. I was gonna ask real quick, as far as off-brand products goes for like video games, unless it was like a special fight pad or a special like controller for Street Fighter or like Mortal Kombat, did
Mhm.
you? When was the last time you bought one of those, like an off-brand controller?
I actually on my PS3, my second player controller is an off-brand one, but it's one of those like really like fancy Chinese ones where they just literally rip off PS3's controller design and just make it identical. The only thing different you can tell on it is like it doesn't have the PlayStation logo. It just has like kind of like generic looking logo. It just says PS3. Controller works
Mhm.
identical. The only difference is the battery life's not nearly as good, but it feels like a PS3 controller. It's not bad whatsoever. But I know what you mean though, like the weird ass. Like I got a cup for my Dreamcast. I got this big fat black controller that is about like maybe not twice the size of a Dreamcast controller, but it's fucking huge. And it was always that thing where you needed that fourth player controller and you didn't want to spend $30 on one, so you're like, fuck it, I'll get this one for $12.99.
Yeah.
And
No,
at
that's one
the
of
end
those
of the
things
day,
like
those off-brand controllers were not nearly as bad as people always make them out to be now. I can't imagine using one of those as like your main controller. But if you have to play some GoldenEye or some fucking like Super Smash Brothers with the fucking weird ass off-brand N64 controller, it's not the end of the world.
I remember I had like a GameCube one that was just like sometimes the character would just start walking without me even like moving the joystick. So it would be one of those things like, oh well, that's the one I don't use.
Yeah, that's
Looked nice
there's
though.
always some of
Yeah.
them that were kind of funky. I remember I had one for PlayStation
Or
originally.
there's the ones that had like fans. They had fans within like the handlebars so that your hands wouldn't get too sweaty. But I'm thinking like I could seriously see a kid like getting so frustrated and gripping it too tightly and then breaking through and then his hands being cut up and it just turns into like a final destination moment.
I know exactly. Like, my hands, my future was all based on my hands. But no, I mean, for the most part, though, I think that when I look at that new Nintendo, I mean, I'm excited no matter what. But like, I do actually think that that's actually a pretty cool, neat way. And I think is like the tablet design. Like a tablet's one of those ones. Until you own a tablet, you don't really realize how actually important and cool those things are. Now try telling that to your grandpa. Or like you're like, oh, this tablet's really fucking important. It's like life changing. But I mean, at the same time, it's like at first I remember the tablets came out. I was like, it's like a big phone. Like what the fuck do I need? I got a phone right here. I can do all that stuff. I don't fucking need a tablet. You know, what am I gonna do? Fucking read books and shit on there? I got fucking books, you know? And then you kind
Yeah.
of get one and then you start reading things on it. You're like, oh, this is actually kind of the cool way to read stuff. And then just, I mean,
Hmm.
really, if, at the end of the day, if it's just for reading things and stuff like that, it's like, that's fucking great. Or just being able to take it with you when you go places and stuff like that. It's like, oh, fucking yeah, look something up online. Boom, I got this thing here. It's easier on my eyes. When I get older, anything bigger just seems to be nicer. You know,
No,
I fucking love the tablets. I'm
it's
actually
easier on your eyes. Like, it's easier on your old man eyes. Like, it
easier
just
on
hurts
my
my
old
brains to
man
get up for too
animation
long.
eyes. I need big screens. But I don't know. That new
Well,
Nintendo
no,
looks fun. It looks cool. I can't wait for it.
I'll more than likely probably get that. I'm hoping you can download Wii U games for it because there's some Wii U games I want to get, but it's too late now for me to go and get a Wii U at this point
Well,
because it's
right
just
now is probably the most ideal time to get a system. Like my favorite time to pick up on always the systems I miss out on is right as the other one's coming out because next thing you know, you pick it up, you get it for like way cheaper anyways, and then all the games and Nintendo's a little bit different. They probably won't go down. Well, they're actually pretty darn cheap right now because they've been doing the Nintendo Select. I think to pay for the new Switch system because they dropped a bunch of great games to $20 brand new, which is like kind of unheard of every once in a while. But I know they're doing it to pay for that system.
my
But
thing is I know myself and I know that what's going to happen is I'm going to get like 5 games at once. I'm going to play them all just a little bit and I'm going to beat like maybe 2 or 3 of them and the other 2 are going to remain unfinished forever.
well, that's like the story of my life nowadays. I think that's I've accepted about like a couple years ago that the time of being able to beat all the games you get is just a lost fucking goal. That is just, it will not happen. You know, if I get a game and I only play it for 3 hours, sometimes I go, I guess that's all I was getting out of it. That's all I really want. That's what it is. It is what it is. I don't know what else to say. Like that time period of like, no, I got to get fucking 60 fucking hours out of it to make it worth it because every hour is worth $1 and I paid $60 for it and that's what my worth is. Like those days, like no, if I get 5 hours out of it, it earned it $60. I know it sounds weird to some people, but as far as my time goes, that's sometimes all you get. And I just wanted to see what it was like.
No, I get you. I guess I'm just like, I feel bad saying this. We're doing this whole podcast has pretty much been video game centric. I have not bought a big video game in a while, and I feel it feels so weird having this conversation when I hardly play video games anymore. But I kind of like seeing it kind of come up and down, and just I've turned into almost a casual gamer by this point. Not that I want to; it just kind of happened that way, you know.
Well, it is that sort of thing. Like for myself, like I feel. I almost like I still look into video games here and there and like things like that and I buy them. The only downfall is I just don't have the time to really play them. So I guess by that standard I would be I don't really consider myself a casual gamer because I still think hardcore. I just don't play hardcore, if that makes any sense.
I'm just trying to think of like, I mean, I'll still buy a couple of small games. Like I bought that. I'm not sure if we talk about any of the podcasts. I'm going to talk to you on the phone about it. But there's a game called I think like Last Fight or Final Fight, and it's kind of like indie. It's a French indie game, and it plays like Power Stone. It's almost kind of what it is, like spiritual successor to a spiritual successor to Power Stone. I got that, and that was a really fun game. But I mean, and there's Broforce, but I'm almost more of like these small, quick little games I could pick up. They're almost more arcade style. I almost went out and got Mafia 3, but then I just kind of heard that like the game was it was kind of a rushed game. It's kind of glitchy and like. The story's pretty fun, but it's kind of like your standard open world game. Not a whole lot stands out in it other than the story and the writing. So,
and I feel that's kind of what you buy a Mafia for, is because the story's good. Because like that Mafia 2, I remember that was the one that blew me away so much, and I only played like the beginning of it or watching it at somebody else's house, but I was so impressed with almost like the presentation of that game, and I feel that's almost what you want to get that game for is that experience. Like you don't buy that game thinking you're getting Grand Theft Auto or Godfather or something like that. You buy it thinking that you're getting Mafia and you're going into it for a really, really cool story experience. And well, that's kind of how myself too, as you said. Like I almost enjoy sometimes the indie games that only take me 6 hours to beat because it's like that's the perfect length for me. That's the amount of time I have in the day. That's why I've been really digging this Duke Nukem one, because I can sit down in about like an hour and a half in a night. I can get halfway through one of the worlds and then finish the next half the next day, and boom, I'm set to go. You know what I mean? It's perfect. I don't feel like I'm engaged. Sadly enough, even though I want to play an RPG, I can't really play RPGs because I know it's like I don't got fucking 50 hours to sit down and play this. That's why my Twilight Princess HD Wii U copy hasn't even been opened yet, because I know that game's over 50 hours long, so it's just like the idea of like, when the fuck am I going to have time to sit down and play this? I mean, obviously, if you like, do an hour or two a night, you can get anything done. But at the same time, when there's so many other choices, it's so difficult. You're like, no, where's the quick game? I'll take that one instead. I'll get my quick fix.
No, I get you. Just a quick one, man. Just a quick one. Just give me straight, No, but like, well, regarding like Mafia for a second, that one right there. Can you hear me? I'm in the red right now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think you've been in the red the whole time.
Oh, okay. Well, I haven't been like staticky or chopping up, have I?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, motherfucker. I fucking hate this thing. All right. But anyway,
one of these days we will not have to use crappy internet on both ends.
Yeah, one of these days. Don't know when that will be, but one of these days. But regarding Mafia for a second, the big thing about that game is I wouldn't mind getting it eventually, maybe just when there's a sale for it, because it's just I've heard multiple things about it saying, it's a fun game. It just kind of eventually just kind of goes by the numbers, same old, and the setting's cool, but it's just one of those games they just kind of rush near the end. And I know that's not enough to kill it for me, but I am at that point where I feel like video game companies are like, we know you're going to buy it, and we'll just put a patch out later. And I'm kind of really tired of that. And that's one of those things like I'm not really mad at developers so much as I am just more the business side of it. So almost to prove almost to like I don't know, just put my money where my mouth is. I'm just kind of gonna wait till that game kind of goes on a sale because I'm kind of tired of games doing that. Kind of like either putting out an unfinished game, like we'll put out a patch later, maybe. You know?
Well, sometimes the thing is when you wait just a little bit and they finally do put those patches out, you actually get a game that plays totally smooth. And even though it might have got a bunch of bad reviews in the beginning, by the time you played it, it's like, oh no, there's nothing wrong with this game.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, like I always feel like the day that I go back and play Arkham Origins, like I think that game plays perfect now. But when we played it, we were playing it day one, so like it had glitches galore. And even though it's a great game, but it was kind of pushed out there. So there is something to be said about waiting a little bit and just letting those original, patches kind of come out and whatnot.
I am still curious about Watch Dogs 2. If I didn't live in the city, then I probably wouldn't care as much. But I am very curious to see how accurate it is and see if like I can go by. Like I'm just curious to know if like I wonder if I go over here if this will be there. Like I know the major landmarks will be there, but watching like some of the some of the trailers, like the cutscenes, like oh my god, I know that corner on Hate Street. I'm pretty sure I've seen that homeless guy right there. So it's just that kind of thing I want to try and look for.
Yeah, that'd be kind of a fun one to get. Well, there's those certain ones too where it's like, oh yeah, I got to get that game, and just put in just that little bit of time. Like it's almost like a new Batman or something comes out, or like for me right now, it's like the new Gears of War came out. That game's like the perfect one because it doesn't take too much time. I just got to wait for Kyle to get here so we can play the co-op story. So we've been going through that a little bit slower, but that's about one of the only games I've kind of come to the conclusion. There's only been about 2 games in my entire life that I've ever really been like somewhat obsessed with online playing. And it's Gears of War and Red Alert 2. I was going to say Command and Conquer, but when it really breaks down at the end of the day, it was more just Red Alert 2 more than anything else. Those are the only 2 games I can think about that I actually was like obsessed with playing online. Because a lot of games like you play like the online mode and they're fun, but they're fun for like all of about 3 or 4 days, and then all of a sudden like it just goes away, and you're like, why the fuck was I even doing that? You know what I mean? I don't mean that in a bad way, but that's sort of like how Call of Duty is. You get Call of Duty, you play it for like 3 days, like this is really fun, and then by about the 4th day, you're like, I don't need to play that anymore. I've been there, done that. And it's not like being shitty or bad, but just for something about it, just like the urge just goes away instantly. Now I know for some people that urge has never gone away, but
not to be one of those guys like I'm just pushing against to be different. Like I remember I got Modern Warfare 2. Like, this is a really fun game. I liked it. I just played the story mode because I didn't have fucking internet where I lived at the time. But then after seeing them come out like every year and then, going over to like a party and there's always a couple of bros in front of a TV playing Modern Warfare, and then every shooter trying to be a modern military shooter. Mm-hmm. And I just, it really wore me out. And I'm sure they're fun games, but just something about it just became so like, just another modern military shooter. And it's usually the same guys that are like, not all of them. I'm sure I know it's that's not always a stance on where you are politically, but I was like, oh, I know a lot of these fuckers are voting for Trump probably,
Yeah, well, the thing is, too, that Modern Warfare 2, that one you bought, that was, like, I think the pinnacle game out of all those ones.
Mm-hmm.
That one and then the World War II one before it, like, after that, it felt like it's been, like, not like, at the end of the day, none of those games are really bad, but they're just kind of same old, over and over. At least Gears, what I love about Gears, and this is, I think, what always sold me on that, because, first-person shooters generally, other than the old ones, I feel like I can go back and play GoldenEye or Duke Nukem or Doom any day of the week, but for some reason, past the 90s, it's like, I don't know, the first-person shooters don't, like, latch onto me as much. But something about Gears, it's just the story with that game is what really brought me into it, and the characters and the love and all that stuff. That's really, like, what sells me. And then, you get some of these other games, even, like, Halo's kind of bad about, like, their stories are one of those ones. I feel like you have to almost read the books to know exactly what's going on, because those cutscenes go by so fast, and the next thing you know, the game's over, and you're like, wait, what happened?
The game does, well, it's one of those things like, I don't think bad of it, but the game does kind of go, it's like, what, you don't fucking know this? Which, that's not a bad thing, you just need, I think that most people play Halo just for the gameplay, and, but story-wise stuff, there is a lot of stuff, like, there's like these terminals, if you can go to those terminals, and you can just do, like, literally pages of, like,
reading material.
Of these, race before, like the race that created a little eyeball guy. Like I had a friend who was into all the expanded universe stuff, and he broke a lot of stuff down for me. Like, okay, cool. Glad you told me, because I'm never going to fucking read that.
Yeah, and it's like, well, one's like, that's why when I got like the Halo, the animated movie or whatever, was like the little like 5 mini different ones. It was like, everything makes so much more sense now. When what, like, just put it in a movie form. It's like you got a great story here. It's just for some reason the game wise, I just don't feel like it comes out well. And everybody who's into Halo that knows the story really well, it's because they all read the novels or they did something else to get like all that knowledge. It's not there in front of you.
Well, I
Like,
read the first book, Fall of Reach. I read the first one back in high school.
well, Fall of Reach
And
wasn't the first one.
well, I mean, I think it was the first, not chronologically, but I think it was the first one to come out. I think Fall of Reach was the first one to, because I remember it came out when Halo 1 was, it was before Halo 2, and it was the prequel that took, it was like one of three books that led up to Halo 1, I think.
Well,
That's
yeah,
what I was-
because there's three of them, and there was one.
And
Yeah, I think there's one literally called something first, but
I want to say it was Fall. I think Fall of Reach was the first one because that's the one that introduced Master Chief, and his name was John, and it what started in his childhood. Actually, funny thing, I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but I went on Netflix one day and it said Halo Fall of Reach. I'm like, really? Is this an
yeah,
adaptation of that book? And
yeah,
it was
they
years
got the
ago.
movie of it, but I know that I've read some of the reviews on it. People are like, well, it's like the simplified version, but I mean, like, well, duh.
Of course. Well, yeah. I mean, I watched, like, I put it on. I fell asleep watching it. It was just something I fell asleep to, and I wasn't really paying a whole lot of attention. But I remember there's enough, like, oh, I remember that part from the book. I remember that part. The animation though was very much like it's fucking Halo. You think they could afford like to get like I'm not saying Pixar, but they could afford some major animation studio. It was very much kind of like it almost looked kind of like old PlayStation 2 kind of cutscenes, sort of.
Well, I showed you that Halo 2 remastered fucking cutscenes. Those cutscenes right there,
Yeah.
I still on both PS4 and Xbox One, I don't think I've seen any game that looks nearly as good as those fucking cutscenes. Even the ones in Gears of War 4, like compared to the Halo 2,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's Gears of War, so it looks good, but it does not look like that fucking Halo 2 cutscenes. Those are like out of this world ridiculous. So like the amount of money they spent on those guys putting that together, it's like, yeah, you think you could just make you think you just make the Fall of Reach movie look in that same style of graphics, and then sell it as a big movie.
I'm surprised they still haven't done something really big with Halo. They do all these little teases. Like they had like a web series, Forward Onto Dawn, which they have it as a big chunk on Netflix. I've never watched it.
I started that one and it was like, I don't know. I know that somebody said like it gets really good towards the end. I'm like, yeah, well, it kind of sucked towards the beginning.
Well, I heard it's just like a bunch of just random small stories that take place in the Halo universe, and Master Chief comes in near the end or something, or they give little hints and teases at him. I don't know why they keep doing these half measures. There's another one, like a television series produced by Ridley Scott for like, I think strictly for Microsoft or something, like on their Microsoft network. And that right there was, I mean, I don't remember I don't know if it was any good. I remember people making a big deal about it. Then it came out, and I heard nothing about it afterwards.
I think that might have been the one I was thinking of actually. Is that one you're talking
No, there's two of them. There's that, which I don't know if that's the one you saw.
The one I saw was like it took place like an academy.
I don't know. I never watched Forward to Dawn or On to Dawn, whatever it was called. I just know it was a web series, like, and they just compiled them all into like a movie and just dropped it on Netflix. But it was one of those things like, why do you guys keep doing these half measures? This is like, while people still give a shit, you should make a movie off this thing. Whoever opted out, whatever fucking studio executive who said, look, this Halo thing, the kids like it, I don't fucking know. Who wants to make it? This Peter Jackson guy, he likes the Hobbit movies. I don't fucking know. Nah, whatever studio executive said that needs to get fucking fired. Not that like Halo is so amazing, its story needs to be told. It just to lose out on that much fucking money at that time is a fucking idiot.
Well, because the sad thing is right now Halo it's not nearly as popular as it was when they were going to make that movie. When they were going to make that movie, it was right around the time Halo 3 would have came out. Like, they would have been fucking rolling in the money. Even if the movie wasn't even that great, fucking money would have been everywhere. There would have been fucking nerds fucking shooting wads of cash all over the screen, everywhere. But, because, now Halo's kind of become, it's kind of like one of those games where it's like, oh yeah.
Big, but it's not.
Yeah, it's big, but it's not like, and it's only big to certain people. Because before, like, there was a time period where it was like, oh, fuck, you gotta get a fucking 360. You got Halo 3 coming out. And nowadays, it's like, oh, Halo 5 came out on Xbox One. Like, yeah, that's not changed my opinion.
Or it's one of those things like, hey, it'll be like, Master Chief was up there, kind of like. Remember, there's a time when they had a big deal. I mean, maybe it's just us because we don't really keep up with all the trends and all that kind of stuff. But I remember there's a time when you would like buy a video game magazine. They have some illustration, like a three-way battle between Mario, Crash Bandicoot, and Sonic or something like that. You
Yeah.
know, or it would be something once we got to the next generation. It would be like Link versus like
Master Chief.
Master Chief, and then
Like,
Jack from Jack and Daxter.
yeah, or as I
And it
said,
would
God of
be
War. Or whatever his name
yeah,
is.
and it would always be like they seem to all these companies seem to have a set mascot, and for PlayStation's always rotating them because they don't give a
Yeah,
fuck.
PlayStation like set
But
mascots. Maybe not the best word for PlayStation. Really,
I guess
you know who
Little
they,
Big Planet, I guess, would be the closest
no,
thing they
you know
got.
who's at the end of the day, you know who's the real true mascot for PlayStation? Now they would, they'd
Nathan
never.
Fillion.
No, no, because this goes back through all PlayStations since the dawn of the PlayStation. This is the one game that has always been on PlayStation, except for PS4 so far. But other than that, even though I guess you can get the old ones, this character right here, I know they would never use it as a mascot, but he's really been there since the beginning. Nobody ever fucking kicked him off. And that's Sweet Tooth of Twisted Metal. When you really think about,
Oh
like,
yeah.
who's been there longer than anybody else? It's Twisted Metal, even though, once again, they haven't made one on PS4 yet. But, he's been there since fucking day one PlayStation, pretty much. Crash Bandicoot, yeah, okay, he was big for a bit, but got dropped off, and even Nathan Fillion, who knows how, he's only been here, he's kind of the modern one.
His clock is ticking
But his clock is ticking.
before he goes in that pile with like fucking Crash, Jack, and Sly Cooper.
Yeah, exactly. So, but like Microsoft, they have Halo, and it's like, dude, you should fucking just like blow that shit out of the water. And once again, they kind of fucked up with Halo 5 because I'm the only person I know that owns that game. I don't know anybody else who has fucking Halo 5.
Isn't there another one that's coming out? Is 6 coming out? I thought I saw a trailer for something.
Well, they got
big.
Halo Wars 2, which is like the real-time strategy game.
Maybe Halo. God, was that long ago? Was it Halo 5 that I was thinking they're making a big deal out of on the trailer? Maybe it was. Shit, I don't know. I can't keep track of it anymore. I don't even fucking know. There's a time I was like, holy shit, Halo 2. And I'm just like, oh yeah, that one.
Well, it seemed like, because, Halo 3 was the last really big hurrah. And after Halo 3, it was just like the popularity just sort of dipped. And I think it was a couple things happened. One, Call of Duty started picking up steam. So that started taking away the market of like first-person shooters. Because if you think about it, like in that like Halo 2 or Halo 1, 2, and 3 era, yeah, there was always been other first-person shooters, but Halo was the one that fucking had everybody by the fucking balls. No matter what, that was what everyone was playing.
I feel like Halo is kind of like, so let me get, so this is how you almost got to hook people in. Like, all right, so get this. It's like, you're like a space marine and you're up there fighting space terrorists. Oh, that's kind of cool. It sounds a little nerdy, but I like the idea of shooting me some space terrorists. Then all of a sudden they drop Modern Warfare. They drop Call of Duty into Modern Warfare. Like, oh no, get this. So it's kind of like the same as Halo. What do you mean? Well, I mean, it's like you shoot shit. So it's kind of like the same thing as Halo. Oh, it's the first-person shooter. Yeah, only you're shooting real terrorists this time and Russians. Oh, fuck, really? I think that's almost kind of what brought it in, like Modern Warfare, really, plus the zoom-in option.
Well, you think about it though. Here's the thing. Nowadays, if you're not shooting humans, the game's not nearly as popular. You know what I mean? And it sounds kind of weird, but you can almost say the game. I'm not saying this, but you can see people saying that it almost feels kiddier if you're shooting aliens or made up monsters. So Gears of War, Halo, it's weird to say that, like fucking Halo and Gears of War is kiddie, but Doom, all these games that used to be so ballsy and everything like that, you're like, well, you're just shooting fucking made up monsters now. You're not shooting anything real. And I think that's sort of where people go, well, I want to fucking shoot a terrorist in his fucking face. I don't want to shoot no space terrorist. There ain't no such thing as a fucking space terrorist. Or a demon from hell, fucking bullshit. Like, I thought you believed in the Bible. Yeah, I believe in it so I get fucking laid. But, other than that,
church ain't no place to pick up someone like church. I fucking tell you what, they're already practicing on their knees.
You know what I mean? So, in the day, that's why I think games, it's like it's not like they're not popular, but I always think about Gears of War. Microsoft blows that game out of the water like it's the biggest thing known to mankind. But if you talk to people on the street, there's so many people that have never ever played Gears of War. Yeah, they know what it is, but they've never played it. And I almost have a hard time meeting people that have actually played Gears of War, other than the people you find randomly on the internet.
I didn't. I mean, let me say this real quick. That whole thing, and don't take it as me saying you like Call of Duty. That means you're a fucking redneck Republican. Don't take it as that. But I think it's one of those things. Like, I think the loss of the sci-fi aspect is almost what brought more people in, because there are people I know that play and bought Gear like Call of Duty for. Did I say Gears of War a little bit ago, or did I say Call of
I think
Duty?
you said Call of Duty. No, you said Call of Duty.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, Call of Duty. I think because there are some people I know who were big Call of Duty fans, and the second you came out with the one, whatever the last one was, where you got like you're wearing like a robot suit.
Yeah, the Infinity Warfare or whatever the Advanced Warfare.
Yeah, whatever that was, where it's sort of in the future and you can do like special powers now.
Yeah.
Once people started complaining, and now this one, we're going to fucking space, and more people are more mad.
Well, and I think that's true, because if you think about it, because at the end of the day, Call of Duty, though it can become a hardcore gamers game, to me it always feels more like, no, that's actually more like the casual gamers game. And I think the thing is because mostly Call of Duty kind of goes hand in hand with the guy that the only two games they own is Madden and Call of Duty. You know what I mean?
That's what I feel. Yeah.
And the thing is I think that's true. By being realistic, that kind of gets all like, oh, good, gets all the nerd shit out of the way. I don't have to see no fucking locusts, or I don't have to see no fucking space aliens. I don't want to see no fucking Star Trek bullshit in my fucking game. And I think that's almost kind of what it is, where, Doom, it's like, oh, well, that's like the fucking weird ass, like, heavy metal kids fucking game. And Halo, well, that's the fucking Star Trek nerds fucking game. And Gears of War, well, that's like the kids that talk about the military, but they really actually are never going to go to it. They're just going to write stories about it and sell it on fucking, I don't know where I'm fucking going with this. Ridley Scott will fucking.
We're nerds by books.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like all those ones kind of go there, where Modern Warfare is just like, oh, that's like Iraq. That's like when I went and fucking kicked some terrorists in their fucking teeth. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna fucking do it in the United States too if I see them, but I'm gonna do it from the safety of my own home and fucking Call of Duty.
My thing is like, fuck. I don't know, man. I'm walking into some gray areas here, but my thing is like, I notice you get a lot of people that are like super patriotic, always talking about fucking Call of Duty, and it's just like, you know what? The likelihood of you doing this good, I don't know. It's like one of those things. I mean, look, I'm not saying everyone's fucking like this. I'm going off of really one or two personal situations I've been in with these kind of people. And there's one where just like, I just don't like all the fucking science fiction shit. It's not fucking realistic. It takes me out of it. I just can't believe it. And part of me really just wanted to say to the guy, I didn't, but part of me just really wanted to say to the guy, the likelihood of you running in, taking some shots, then taking cover, healing back up, and then coming up, firing at all these fuckers, is less fucking likely than whatever Marcus Phoenix does in Gears of War.
Well, here's the thing, too. At the end of the day, Master Chief, he can explain why his health comes back, because it's a shield that regenerates. How the fuck do you explain getting shot and then just healing, like, on the spot? What are you, fucking Wolverine?
I don't know. I'll be 100% honest with you. If I have, like, some kind of weird, like, power murder fantasy, it's usually comes in more of like like literally fantasy or science fiction kind of version of it, more than being kind of like, I want to go across some country to some people I don't know and just like shoot their fucking teeth in. I don't know. Not trying to get to like political agenda here, but
it's kind of funny too, because I will say this, because originally the Call of Duty guys started off making Medal of Honor, and I was all into it because it was all World War II oriented. I noticed the second that they took the World War II out of it, that's when I stopped getting interested. It's like, Modern Warfare? That sounds fucking boring. That's like watching the news. Why the hell do I want to play that?
There was like, no, I'll say that, I mean, don't take it as me trying to totally shit on like Modern Warfare entirely. Modern Warfare 2 is a fun game.
No, Modern Warfare 2 is actually an amazing game. I'm not going to deny actually how cool that fucking game is. The story in it's amazing. The spec op missions in are so much fun. The multiplayer is fun. I think it's just the overabundance of being the kind of the same game over and over again.
And the things they do to make you actually feel kind of helpless. Like, I want to say, remember if it was Modern Warfare 1 or Modern Warfare 2, but there's a part where you're crawling out of some rubble. You're crawling out of some rubble, and just keep crawling and crawling. You get out, and then someone just shoots you. Like, the idea of it could just have, like, just for lack of a better term, the real world consequences of just like, yeah, sometimes you just fucking die. Or that time where you're doing this one mission. It's this hard mission. You got to defend this laptop. It has all this important information in. You're in the cabin somewhere. You do the mission. The general comes down, says, nice work. Fucking shoots you, sets you on fire. And, like, you even have, like, this weird slow motion thing where the guy is tossing you down a hill, into a burn pit or whatever. So it's like, I appreciate that. I even the thing at the end, like, I'm not gonna lie, that part where you get, like, fucking stabbed in the chest by that colonel, you go down, and then you have to pull that fucking thing out of your chest and throw it in the guy's face. That is fucking badass. Mm-hmm. So don't take it as me shitting on an entire franchise. This is more just me pointing out I'm just tired of the same game over and over and over, and then people just trying to discredit any other game other than this.
No, and that's totally true, because once again, I'll say Modern Warfare 2, I think, was almost like one of the pinnacles of that series. I don't think I've had nearly as much fun with it ever since that one game. That game was pretty freaking awesome. But I think the downfall, it's like, okay, playing Gears of War online, like, it puts the biggest smile on my face. And I think the difference is I think this is what Cameron said. He's like, well, you know what it is? He's like, Call of Duty, at the end of the day, it's a fucking respawn simulator, because you always, you respawn randomly anywhere on the map, and then next thing you know, there's some guys behind you. And I think that's the thing that always gets me. It's like, God, you just start off, and it's not like you get this legitimate battle where you're like, oh, that guy fucking totally got me. It's the guy shot me from behind because he respawned behind me after I respawned. And then, like, Gears of War and Halo, it's like, not saying that can happen once in a blue moon, but it's so fucking rare. I mean, if you played for a week straight, you probably only see it maybe happen once or twice, if that even. It's so rare. And both Halo and Gears, but especially Gears in itself, it's just like, there's just something about it. Maybe it's just like, I don't feel like it's so chaotic, and I feel like when you get a kill, everything's legitimate in it. Every once in a while, maybe you can have like an internet failure or something like that, but for the most part, nothing feels like you're cheated out of anything. You feel like you've either earned it or they earned it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Call of Duty's more just like, it's like chopping a bunch of chickens' heads off and throwing them in there with guns and letting them fire at each other before they die. And that's sort of how
some racist 12-year-olds say whatever the fuck they want because computer online anonymity.
And realistically, that's probably on Gears and Halo just as much. I never have the audio on. Yeah. So you hear that where everybody's like, dude, that fucking asshole, he's not even fucking listening to us. He's on his team and he's not even responding. What a fucking dick. It's either that or that's probably what's happening the whole time I'm playing. Like, I'm the dick. That could be happening.
Like, Alicorn 435, I can really use some assistance. No! Like, just like, oh, that guy's dead. Okay, I guess I was a little late.
See, I always make sure that I am the guy that picks somebody else up, because you watch, like, I always feel like it's such like a dick move is just I mean, it's different if there's like chaos going on, but it's such a dick move is when there's people just stand there. It's just like, yeah, I'm not gonna fucking pick you up. Fuck you. I don't care if you're on my team or not.
Yeah, no, I get you. I don't do enough online gaming. I just always die too quickly. The Star Wars Battlefront was just a respawn machine as well. So I played a little bit of that and just like, nope, I'm kind of done with this. This ain't. Not to go like, member Battlefront, not be that guy, but like it was kind of like, you're just using the name to kind of sell something from my childhood. So yeah, I'll play it once in a while, but yeah.
Yeah, well, it's funny too, because like I remember my PlayStation, it says
the
like
DLC machine is what it is.
Like PlayStation's all like, your total online play time is 3.5 hours. I'm like, holy fuck. I'm like, boy, I guess I never play anything on PlayStation.
I hardly do. I hardly play anything online, at least, but yeah.
No, it's one of those ones, like, as I said, very few games have ever captivated me, and the only two I can ever think of is Gears of War and Red Alert 2. Those are the only ones that I've actually, like, spent, like, months on end playing. Like, there's been, when Gears of War 2 came out, I remember I put it, like, there was a time where it's just, like, every fucking night at the end of the day, it's like, okay, we're gonna fucking Gears it up before we go to bed, once we get MVP, you can go to bed, feeling honorable.
No, okay. Like, Laura's like, Spence, just come to bed yet. I haven't earned honor yet. I haven't earned honor.
I gotta know that I'm better than these other 8 people I'm playing with before I go to bed. Once I know that I'm better than them, then it's okay. It's kind of that weird thing too. It's like maybe that's why a lot of people like the online gaming, because it gives you that feeling of like high satisfaction when you really aren't actually getting anything.
I get you. No, there is that thing when you like kill someone that you. This is sound like almost like serial killer-ish for a minute. So there's that thing when you kill someone, and you know it wasn't a computer. You know.
Well, yeah.
I mean, that's
there's like that sort of certain satisfaction, and I think that's what it is, though. It's like, you could kind of point out other things, like almost like the creative drive of making something and then putting it out there and having people see it. Like that gives you like a good feeling of like, oh my God, look at, I did this. But sadly enough, you can almost get that exact same feeling without putting any effort in whatsoever by just playing like a game online and just like, you're like, oh man, I got MVP, dude. I'm like the best. Like, who is better than me? Or I was also just going back.
I'm like, I bettered you.
I got the MVP.
It's if they're like going
to prove it. Or it's like even like I was playing Mario Maker again because I'm like, I haven't played this in a while. Maybe they add some new stuff. I'll take a look at it. And there was about like this like maybe not even a week, like 3 or 4 days. I was like making levels and everything again. I'm like, you almost finished making a level in Mario Maker. You're like, yep, did my creative thing for the day. Let's go kick it from this point on. Yeah. You know me, fucking creating levels. Let me tell you about it. And then all of a sudden you start up and go, wait a second. That doesn't count as anything. That's never going to make me money or anything like that. That's just like a fun little like side hobby. It's like, that gave me the same feeling of like, doing something really creative, but I really, at the end of the day, didn't do anything. I just kind of manipulated a bunch of objects someone else has set up for me.
Yeah, it is one of those things where it's just like, at the moment when you're doing something like that, you can kind of gratify yourself. Like, well, it's still creative in a sense, even though it doesn't really push me in the actual direction I want to go. I still get the same creative. You try to justify it, and you're like, nah.
I mean, I'm not going to say it's not still partially educational. It still doesn't challenge your mind. But when you're trying to actually get something physically done that will make you money, it's like, oh, wait, this isn't working.
And I'm not one to shit on like Mario Maker. And I mean,
I fucking love Mario Maker. I think it's an amazing thing.
I see the total perk of it, but I see what you mean. Every once in a while, you might be working on this side project over here where you think like, well, this is time to be going into the main thing that I really want to work on rather than this. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you can't work on those things sometimes, but it's like when that's the one thing you've done all day, you just can't help but get a little bit of a guilty conscience, at least the creative side of your brain. So.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you know that, like, if you don't make something, it's like, if I don't make something today, that's one day away from being close to my goals. So, I don't know. I feel like we're going off like a long, deep road here, and that's probably a good place to start wrapping this up, because hopefully...
Before we do you actually want to talk about Logan real quick?
Oh, yeah, I guess we could.
I mean, unless the internet's really shitty. I mean, you're coming in okay on my side, but...
It's been about the same quality the whole time, so it could be a really staticky podcast the whole way through. I'm not too sure. I guess I'll find out when I go to edit it.
Okay.
I was just looking at the time.
You want to talk about Logan real quick, or just bounce? Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about Logan. There was a new Logan trailer. It was really amazing. They used Johnny Cash's Hurt in it. I really like that a lot. I wish they used the Kermit version instead, but maybe that seems too weird.
I hurt myself today. that old video, it even shows like there's a part where like it's just Kermit singing "Hurt," but then at some point they show him like injecting himself with heroin. You see he's blowing Ralph for heroin. Like I don't know who the fuck made this video. Ralph the dog, the guy on the piano. But no, that's not in the Logan trailer. The song "Hurt" by Johnny Cash, originally by 9 Inch Nails, is in the trailer, and it looks kind of like they're definitely pulling from Old Man Logan, but they're definitely doing a little bit more of their own thing. Just more the concept of an old Logan on a road trip is kind of, and it's kind of post-apocalyptic, not as post-apocalyptic, but kind of like where Old Man Logan was Road Warrior or Mad Max Fury Road. This one is more like the original Mad Max, kind of like right before everything goes entirely downhill. Like it's on its way. You could see like some destroyed buildings, but there's still like, oh, there's a forest. That city looks kind of populated, you know.
Yeah, there's still like a guy that could sell ice cream, and it's still somewhat decent and civilized.
Yeah, not as much rape and murder as there would be probably in a few years,
No, yeah, this new trailer looked pretty darn cool, and it is one of those ones like if you really didn't, let's just say you didn't know who Hugh Jackman was. If you just really cut out maybe even a couple scenes of the claws, like it almost looks like it could be some other movie. And I don't mean that in like a bad way, like, oh, they're hiding the fact that it's a superhero one, but No, it is kind of interesting that it's just so subtle. I mean, once again, it's a trailer, and maybe that's what they're trying to tend. And even the last Wolverine was kind of like that too. It's the really
I
other than his claws and a couple other things, it almost doesn't feel like a total superhero movie. I guess I don't know.
You saw a robot arm, and apparently Mr. Sinister is the villain of this movie. I don't know. I'm hoping he's not the guy with the robot arm because it looks nothing like him. But they showed that guy kicking him down at some point. So hopefully just some henchman or some miscellaneous character I don't know of. But it does look it doesn't look like it does not look like Old Man Logan to the extent of like an adaptation. But you could see they took inspiration from it. Which I kind of expect. I'm not expect. There's no way they can get him to fight Hulk and have him team up with old blind Hawkeye and kill Red Skull. That's not going to happen.
Uh-huh.
But still, I think it looks pretty cool. It almost seems kind of like I know it's not. I know it's not going to go. It's not going to get that far. Just the way they present it, it almost looks like they're almost trying to go for an. I know it's not going to get this far, but it almost looks like they're trying to go for an Academy Award, just for how bleak it is. I think they saw, you know what? Fucking Mad Max almost won. It won a bunch of shit.
Yeah. No, I do kind of feel that too. Like it looks like this is probably your most serious superhero movie, and I don't mean that like in a bad way, because sometimes people look at the word serious as being bad with superheroes, but I'm like, no, like they are full on taking this as legitimate as possible.
And what's the poster? The poster is his fist clenched with the claws out in a little girl's hand, who's actually X-23, who's a little girl, grabbing his hand. That's the poster. It's like, that's just 3 steps away from the Schindler's List poster.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Schindler's List with claws.
Yeah, like if you just had that hand holding a little girl's hand with claws, no list. It's like, add, like Photoshop some claws onto that hand and remove the list from the background. Same poster. So I'm not, that's not my entirely critique, but I feel like just from the way the trailer looks, the way it was shot, how unflashy it was, it almost looked like it's trying to almost. I don't think they think they're gonna get it, but it almost seems like as if this movie was contending for an Oscar or something like that. Like not the movie that would win, but the movie that at least would be nominated. Maybe not saying I think it will be, but I think what they're trying to go for.
Oh yeah, no, I think that is kind of like the look for it. And who knows, maybe that is like that's kind of the next step, I guess you could say, for a superhero movie is, they got them dialed in as like the fun, adventure movies, in the sense the Marvel, cinema ones. And next kind of step is almost, I guess you could say, then you got Deadpool that's been like the raunchy comedy, taking itself really, well with an R rating. And, then you got, the DC ones being nice and dark and stuff. But I guess the next thing to do is like, how can you make a superhero movie like, award worthy?
They already, truth be told, they already did with Dark Knight. It's just that it was a weird thing. Because Dark Knight, what happened with that? This could lead into a whole other conversation, so I'll make it real quick. But Dark Knight, there's a lot of controversy around that because a lot of people thought that should be nominated. That should have been nominated for Best Picture. I mean, they kind of gave it to Heath Ledger because he died, but even though I think he should have won it regardless. But I think that because what happened after Dark Knight is a lot of people were mad that wasn't nominated and this and that wasn't nominated about it, so they almost just kind of we're gonna add more categories now and more movies can win now because we thought that one should have been nominated in the first place. But then, they unfortunately kind of dropped the ball on Dark Knight Returns or Rises. So,
Yeah, it's kind of goofy how that is. And I mean, I think at that time period, it was like, these fucking kiddie movies are coming out. Like, just the old, 60-year-old person who just sees, that's all he sees when he sees Batman on the screen is like,
yeah. There's a lot of controversy. A lot of people talking about, this movie should have been nominated. Fuck that. Like, a lot of, people in the industry were even saying that.
And I think it's just to the point. It's just they just got to let those people die off and get out of there so that the fucking younger people can kind of come in. I think it just happens time and time again, and we're just at the stage where people are having a hard time accepting that. But I don't think it's that far off. I think the old people are finally dying off, so we can finally progress farther forward.
Talking about good, these old fucks can go, so we can use them for gasoline, and we can finally get some superhero movies nominated.
Yeah, goddamn World War II generation holding us back.
I don't think it's World War II generation. I think it's more of probably. I'm not saying these guys specifically or particularly, but probably
Baby boomers as well, too, but-
Spielberg, Spielberg generation. I think it's like, that the whole Lucas, Spielberg, Coppola, Scorsese era. Not saying it's them, but that era of guys. It's like, yeah.
Well, yeah, because the World War II generation is practically dead anyway, so it's, that's pretty much who's there. But I think that's what it is. It's just that, you got to wait for that time to happen, and then once it becomes accepted, it goes from there. But no, this Logan trailer looks really cool. I can't wait. I couldn't wait to see it before that, but now even having a trailer, it's like, oh yeah, dialed in. It'll be awesome.
I'm there.
Well, cool. Well, that's probably a good place to wrap up with. We're already hitting almost the 2-hour mark, so might as well keep it nice and, well, nice, as good as possible as it can be. But key thing first is make sure we got a brand new cartoon out. There's Walabie and the Bronson Boys Part 2, so go check that out and enjoy that. Well,
that's out?
Yeah, it's been out for like a week.
Oh, fuck. I gotta go on Facebook.
I
didn't know that was out.
Oh, it's all new to me.
Well, I didn't know you were already that far with it. Okay, yeah, I'll check that out. Shit. Fuck, now you know why I didn't share it. Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's like, oh, yeah, I kind of wondered that, too. I'm like, man, I've posted that multiple times on there and everything. It's just like, I'm surprised. I thought you would have saw it, but... Well, that's there. Check that out. Clearly, I guess maybe it's not being shared enough, but... But yeah, you can check that out on YouTube, Newgrounds, and I actually still need to upload to Vimeo. I forgot about that part, but that's kind of how Vimeo is. Best video website there is. Sadly enough, kind of always gets forgotten. But till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And we will talk to you in a bit.
Later, folks.
Thanks for listening to the Old Man Orange podcast. Check out our website at oldmanorange.com for even more podcasts, cartoons, videos, music, and more. Send us an email at oldmanorangepodcast@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe, share, rate, and review us on iTunes, Podomatic, or any of the other fine sites we might be located on. And if you want to help out even more, click on the Amazon or GameStop links on our webpage before you make any purchases there. Won't cost you a penny, but it sends us a little something our way. Thanks for listening, and tune in next week to Old Man Orange.